Good morning. Sorry, this is late today. I had some stuff I had to get done this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, get right to it. Today is Friday. We are on day 17. We're only going to do part of today's video and we'll finish the rest of it on Monday because it is our writing day. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hope everybody had a great snow days this week. We got 2 of them. Alrighty. Here we go.
Welcome back, powerful thinkers. I'm Sue Sabella, your Great Minds teacher. Let's see what we need for today. Today we'll need Ruby Bridges Goes to School, My True Story. We'll also need handout 16B, the escape chart, your journal, and a pencil. Please pause here to gather what you need and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we don't need the copy of the text because Miss Sabella is going to read it for us. And you already have handout 16B in your journal. We did it on page 134. We did it last week. It was the focusing question task, handout 16B. So you already have that on page 134, but you do need your journal and a pencil for today.
By understanding someone's thoughts, feelings, and actions, that can help us better understand the lesson or the reason why the author wrote the story. Today, we're going to explore that a bit more deeply. At the beginning of Ruby Bridges Goes to School, My True Story, Ruby Bridges is a young girl. At the end of the story, Ruby Bridges is a grown-up. The word now tells us that we're going to learn about Ruby Bridges and what she's doing now. As I read and show you the next few pages, I'd like you to read them with this question in mind. What point of view is this section of the book, and how do you know? If you'd like to read each page on your own, you can always pause the video to read and then reread it with me again. Ready? Here we go. Now I am grown up. I am married. I have children. One day, Mrs. Henry and I were both asked to be on a TV show. That was the first time we had seen each other in many years. Now we talk to each other often. Pause here to point to the words on the screen that signal to you or tell you the point of view of this page. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so what words do you see on this page? Remember, we talked about the first person point of view, and we made a chart on page 112 of our journal. What are some words that you see on this page that show the point of view of who is telling the story, who's writing the story? So I see the word I several times, and I see the word we several times.
You probably noticed the word I in several places on this page, and also the word we. Let's keep reading with this question in mind. What point of view is this section of the book, and how do you know? Remember, you can pause here to read the page on your own, and then just hit play when you'd like to reread it again with me. Here we go. Now Black children and white children can go to the same schools. I like to visit schools. I tell my story to children. I tell children that Black people and white people can be friends. Pause here to locate or find words that signal to you the point of view of this section of the book. Or if you think you already know what the point of view is, pause here to tell a learning partner. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so what words do you see on this page that tell you the point of view? I see that word I again several times. Do you guys see any other words? I see one. I see the word my.
This section of the book is told in first person point of view. Even though Ruby Bridges is not a young girl anymore and she's a grown up, she is the one who is still telling her own story. We know that because of the words that are used in this section. Words like I and my. Please read the question on the screen out loud, and then we'll read it together.
Okay, so read it with me. What is the important message in this text?
What is the important message in this text? We'll be using a thoughts, feelings, and actions chart to help us record how Ruby Bridges thought about something, the feelings that she had, and the actions that she took. Whenever you reread or revisit a text with a certain purpose in mind, it helps you really focus on what you're looking for. So as we reread a few pages of this text together, I want you to really focus in on the thoughts, feelings, and actions of Ruby Bridges as she faced injustices. I'd like you to pause here so you can create a thoughts, feelings, and actions chart in your own journal. You can open up your journal to a blank page and then just turn it long ways. And you can add the headings at the top of each column. Pause here to do that now and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so this is where we are going to start in our journal. We are on page 135 today. Page 135. I'm going to show you what it needs to look like. Just need to minimize this. Okay, so page 135, this is what it's going to look like when you start, okay? You're going to need to turn your book sideways. 135 is down here in the corner. You need to put today's date on the top, 2-19, and then you're going to write on top of the red line, the side of the page, thoughts, feelings, actions, and then turn this into a 3-column chart, okay? So go ahead and pause the video so that you can get this copied down on page 135, and then push play when you are ready to continue.
In order for us to understand why Ruby acted the way that she did as a grown-up, it will help us to understand how she felt and what she was thinking when she was a child. So I'm going to read some of the pages from the beginning of the book, And while I'm reading these pages, I just want you to focus in on how Ruby felt on these pages. How did she feel on the inside? Are you ready? Here we go. My name is Ruby Bridges. In 1960, I went to kindergarten in a school for Black children. I liked my school. I liked my teacher. I liked my friends. Pause here to jot down in the feelings column in your journal. How did Ruby feel? Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so think about that page that you just listened to. How did Ruby feel? I'm going to bring it up for you so you can look at the text. There we go. So there's the page that Miss Sabella just read. So think about that. How did Ruby feel on this page? So it looks to me like on this page that Ruby really liked her old school. She liked her school. She liked the teacher. She liked her friends. So she really liked being at her old school. So on page 135 in the feelings section, we need to write that Ruby liked her old school. And we found that on page 8. Okay, so we need to make sure we put that in the feelings column. Ruby liked her old school on page 8. Okay, let's listen to some more of the video.
Ruby liked her old school, and we learned that on page 8. I'm going to read some more from when Ruby was a young girl. And remember, I want you to focus on how she may have felt on this page. Parents took their children out of the school. I was alone with my teacher, Mrs. Henry. How do you think Ruby felt? Pause here to jot that down in your journal and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so let's go look at that page in let's look at this page. Okay, so how do you think Ruby is feeling on this page? So it says that she's alone with her teacher. So how do you think she felt? She probably felt very lonely and she felt alone. And if you feel lonely and alone, you probably feel sad too, huh? So we need to write that on our chart that Ruby felt alone and sad. And we found that on page 17. Okay. Now we have two things on our feelings chart.
Ruby felt alone, and we learned that on page 17. I'm going to give you a challenge on this page. Not only do I want you to focus in on how Ruby might have felt, but I also want you to focus in on what she might have been thinking or wishing for. Ready? Here we go. I loved Mrs. Henry, and Mrs. Henry loved me. I was a very good student. I learned math. I learned how to read. But I wished the children would come back. Pause here to jot down how Ruby felt, but also what she was thinking. What did she wish for? Pause to do that now and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so let's go look at page 18. Okay, so I loved Mrs. Henry and Mrs. Henry loved me. I was a very good student. I learned math, I learned how to read, but I wished the children would come back. So how do you think she felt? Let's do that part first. How do you think Ruby felt on this page? Yeah, I mean, it very specifically says that she loved Mrs. Henry. So we need to put that on there. Okay, but now we need to also think about what is it that she was thinking or wishing for to happen on this page. Yeah, right here it says she wished the children would come back. So we need to put that under the thoughts column, that she wished the other students would come back, or the other children. And that's on page, both of those were on page 18. Okay, so on page 18, or I'm sorry, on page 135, we have thoughts that she wished the other students would come back. And then we have these 3 feelings so far, but we're going to look at 2 more pages. Okay.
We learned on page 18 that she loved Mrs. Henry. We also read about some of her thinking. She wished the other students would come back. I'm going to read 2 more pages, and I want you to focus on how Ruby is feeling. Ready? Here we go. Months and months passed. Then one day, children began to come back to school. At last, I had friends to play with. I was very, very happy. Pause here to jot down how Ruby was feeling now, and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, let's look at that page. Here we go. All right, so look carefully. How do you think she's feeling? Well, it said I was very, very happy. So on the feelings section, the column again, we need to put that she was very, very happy the other kids came back. And that's on page 21. Okay, so here we have it on the bottom. She was very happy that other kids came back. All right, so now we're going to focus on what Ruby did as an adult. How did these things that she felt and thought affect her as an adult? So let's listen to what Miss Sabella is telling us about that.
On page 21, we learned that she was very, very happy the other students came back. Now, I'm really going to give you a challenge. I want you to think about Ruby's feelings, her feelings of feeling alone, and how she thought about that. She wished the other students would come back. And then her feelings changed because the students did come back. And she was very, very happy to have them back. How did that impact Ruby as an adult? How did she act on this experience? What did she do at the end of the story? Pause here to chat about that with your learning partner or to jot Ruby's action in the third column. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so let's go back to the book and let's look at the end of the story. Okay, it says, now Black children and white children can go to the same schools. I like to visit schools. I tell my story to children. I tell children that Black people and white people can be friends. So how did everything that Ruby felt and wished for from our chart affect what she did as an adult? What did she do? So it says that she likes to visit schools. She tells her story to children. She tells them that white and Black people can be friends. So as an adult, Ruby visits schools and she shares her story with children. So in the actions column, we need to write Ruby visits schools and shares her story with children. Okay. Here we go. Ruby visits schools and shares her story with children. So guys, make sure that you have all of this on page 135. Go ahead and if you need to pause the video so that you can write it down, do that, and then hit play. We're almost to the end of what we are working on today. We're going to do one more thing. All right, go ahead and turn to page 136 in your journal, okay? We're going to use it.
By revisiting this text and really thinking about Ruby's feelings, thoughts, and actions from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, we can think about the lesson that she wanted to teach us. This is an opportunity for your teacher to check in with you. I'd like you to write a sentence about the essential meaning of the text. What was the lesson that Ruby wanted to teach us? Jot that down in your journal. Pause to do that now, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so in your journal on page 136, You're going to write this question. Let me put the question up on the screen for you. Okay, so here is the question. You're going to write a sentence about the essential meaning of the text, or what is the lesson that Ruby wanted you to learn from her writing this story? What did she want you to understand and to learn from her experience? So go ahead and write this on your page. You can push pause, write it on page 136, answer the question, and then hit play when you are ready to continue. Okay, so we're actually going to stop the video there. We're going to do the writing part on Monday. But listen, guys, there are several of you that have not done your Flipgrid assignment from last week. I want to give a shout out to those of you that have done it, and that would be Nathaniel, Aaliyah, Bentley, Easton, Luke, Zayden, Logan, Ariana, Juliana, Riley Glandon, and Danny. Thank you so much for doing your Flipgrid assignment. Those of you that have not done it, let me show you where to go. You're going to go to Wit and Wisdom Week 6 because it was last week. Okay, and it's on oops, that's phonics. Hold on. My mouse is going the wrong way. Here it is. Thursday, Wit and Wisdom Flipgrid assignment. If you click on that, guys, right here, the link, you just click it. And then you're going to hit join with Google. Okay. And then you're going to go to the space and it's going to ask you to record a response. And you hit the button and then you have 3 minutes to complete the assignment. And if you don't remember what the assignment was, last week we did a scape chart on page 132 of your journal about Ruby Bridges. If you look at the assignment, I provided the scape chart right there for you, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to use the scape chart to retell the story of what happened to Ruby Bridges that day, okay? You're going to record it. And you're going to turn it in, all right? Hey, don't forget to do that because that is going to be a grade on your report card. So you need to make sure you get that done. And let's see, today's word, the magic word for today is cheese stick. Just because I'm hungry. So your magic word is cheese stick. Make sure that you get your journal done. You're going to take pictures and upload it into the Google Slide. And for those of you that have in the question set that I gave you on Wednesday, there has been a problem with question 2. It says to choose 2 answers, and a lot of people have been emailing me saying that it will only let you choose 1 answer. So what I would like for you to do in the private comment section of your assignment for the question set, tell me what your 2 choices were for question 2, okay? That way I can go back and manually grade it to add an extra point if you need it, okay? All right, so that's it. I hope you guys have a great day and I will see you on Monday.